tonight's special committee investigating chaos at appointment committee suspended abruptly after minority leader allegedly pulled his members from the committee and directed NPP MPs not to testify before the committee.
When he came back, he said the leader asked him to recuse himself and not to be part of the meeting again. We had one of the witnesses from the other side who was coming, and later on sent a text message that he will not come again because his leader said he should not come.
We have details on the day some NDC MPs, including the first deputy speaker and chairman of the appointment committee, have been testifying.
So before I could realize, somebody said something in tree and they started pulling the cables, and I mean there was a pandemonium. The whole place became very hostile.
We analyzed the development with a former member of the House here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Well, the public hearing of a special committee set up by Speaker of Parliament Alban Barbing to investigate the chaos at the appointment committee on Thursday has come to an abrupt end. It follows the decision of Minority Leader Afenyo-Markin to pull two of his members who served in the committee, as well as ordering NPP MPs against testifying before the committee. We will hear shortly from the chairman, Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, who explained why the hearing had to come to an abrupt end. But first, listen to the testimony of Roads Minister Kwame Agboja and Tourism Minister Jifa Gomashi, who were all there on the night and have been sharing what they witnessed.
On the Wednesday, the spillover from the Wednesday, which is about 5, added to the 3 originally scheduled, which was supposed to be Honorable Ibrahim Tia, Samuel Nate, and Honorable Akujeto, were originally supposed to be vetted Thursday, the 30th of January. So if we have a situation where 5 plus 3 are supposed to be vetted, that decision has to be made by the committee and have some leeway. So if anybody says we were originally to vet 3, we give in an added 1, making it 4, and somebody is trying to make it 5, that is not entirely the situation. It's an unfortunate situation. I totally support the action of Mr. Speaker to take the first action. I totally support Mr. Speaker for setting up this committee. I again support Mr. Speaker's decision to de-escalate by allowing our colleagues to, at the moment, continue to serve their constituents pending the outcome of the report from this committee to plenary. Thank you.
On that fateful day, I saw the absence of tolerance. I saw the absence of camaraderie. I saw the absence of the respect for this institution called the Parliament of Ghana. On that fateful day, I saw total disrespect for a woman who has risen through the ranks to be the clerk to the committee that was vetting nominees for His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. I saw an attack on the woman and the inability of leadership of the committee to protect her. I saw total chaos in the committee room and the destruction of property belonging to the Republic of Ghana.
Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with some more on this particular development. Kweku, when we did hear from the first Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Appointment Committee testifying on what he also witnessed.
Well, yes, according to Bernard Ahiafo, in fact, he recounts some of the issues he has raised in that interview with Justice of the PM Express. He talks about how he believes part of the conduct was incited, perhaps, by the minority leader, Afenyo-Markin himself. Some of the things he heard around the table, some of the things he believed were misinformation that were peddled to incite members of the minority. Listen to his testimony when he took his stand before this committee.
When we even resumed sitting, you could see the posture of the minority whip that we will not continue the vetting, banging the table. We will not continue the vetting that day. I employ the committee members to look at the proceedings on that Tuesday. Ask the minister designate for health to take his seat. It was there that I realized that we are tired, we will not do Honorable Akando. Akando will not be vetted today in a very rowdy manner. Based on my posture, I was engaging the minority leader to the effect that you said you are comfortable for Akando to be taken today. What has changed? Then what I realized was that whilst that negotiation was ongoing, I heard the minority leader requesting that they should call some people into the vetting room. And in no time, they started walking to the vetting room. And that very day, minority leader was so harsh to the deputy, second deputy whip, Jerry Ahmed Shaib. I intend not to repeat the words inflicted on him that very day. So I realized that they were under some kind of instruction from their leader to do certain things. Honorable members of the committee, let me place on record that there are some instances where my ranking member will ask their side that they should all stand up and put on the microphone. And by putting on the microphone, all other microphones will be disabled. And you cannot do anything when all the microphones were on. So by my level of tolerance and the way and the manner I have accommodated them, sometimes I do not expect it to be treated in a particular way. And as I said, life is about give and take. We were prepared to give and we were prepared to take. So I also expected them to also give and take. So before I could realize, somebody said something in tree and they started pulling the cables, and I mean there was a pandemonium. The whole place became very hostile. And if you can watch the video carefully, I was so much surprised about the incidents of that day, and I was just sitting down looking at them.
So Bernard here for his deputy speaker and the chairman of the appointment committee giving his testimony before the special committee there. And Koku, for the first time we've heard from the clerk to the committee who has been at the receiving end of several attacks post the Thursday disturbances.
Well, yes, this is the first time that Madame D.C. Adegoba is speaking in such a public fashion, explaining her own versions of things, including the fact that at some point her husband, who was watching proceedings, actually asked her to leave, and also explaining that the clerk to Parliament was actually invited to come there by herself because of how things were degenerated, and that all she was doing was complying with the directives of the chairman.
On that fateful Thursday, from the video you shared, we had commenced proceedings, and the proceedings were disrupted, and the members went into a conclave in the Director of Protocol's office, and they agreed on how to proceed. But before that commencement of the meeting, I'd had various instructions. Aside what the chairman gave, the chief whip also called and sent both voice notes and texts, which I communicated same to the chairman. And after that, the committee went into a conclave. And so we started the proceedings.
Sorry, I'm just trying to ascertain which chief whip, majority or minority chief whip?
Minority, Honorable Anodompre. He sent texts and voice notes in addition. So after the Honorable Nikpe was being taken, we realized that there was so much chaos going on, and as a clerk to the committee, it's my duty to keep order and make sure things are done properly. And it was brought to my attention that one of the doors has been ruptured, and because it was informed Marshal about it. But in the process, I thought within myself, as a clerk, you have your ears and your eyes, and you are watching, and you could sense. So in my spirit, I wasn't feeling right. And so I yielded to the Holy Spirit to call my boss, the clerk. So I called the clerk, pleaded with him that wherever he is, he should please come to my aid, because what is happening is beyond my control. He indicated to me that he was at the send-off of the former clerk, and he's really in the tight corner, but looking at my pleading, he would try and come. Within a matter of 5 minutes, the clerk was here with his usher. So I excused myself in the midst of the proceedings of Honorable Nikbe and went into the adjacent room where I had instructed my secretary to provide tea and coffee to the honorable members, because it was way beyond sitting hours and we hadn't prepared for dinner. And so I briefed my boss, the clerk to Parliament, about what was going on and what I had sensed that it looks like we may have some disruption. So I was in there when my secretariat signaled to me that the chairman is calling me to swear in Honorable Akando. And Honorable Akando was seated in this seat. So I rushed through where the cameras were through the door and came in and stood by my chair. I didn't hear the directive, I was told. So when I came, I was looking at the chair. What is the directive? Waiting for prompting. But then my boss, the clerk to Parliament, was also there. And then the insults and disruption started. You have asked that I shouldn't go into that, so I went. And so I was shocked. I was still standing. If you look at the video, you could see the shock on my face, and I was like, what is going on? And so I was comforted, and I was resolute, seeing my boss at the end trying to calm the two leaders. And so I sent one of my secretariat ladies to seek guidance from my boss, who is the clerk to Parliament. At that point, there was, so much disruption. There was scuffles going on this side where I was. Over there, members were, there was so much screaming here and there. The chief whip came to my side. Some of the majority members came to my side that I should swear, I should let the nominee take the oath. And I pointed to them respectfully that my boss is standing right here. It is in his shoes that I step in. And so if I don't get indication from him, I am not going to take order from anybody. And so they kept, screaming at me. I should let the nominee take the oath. My minority leader was also screaming and hailing. I don't want to go into it because you've asked me to, so we've watched the video, and the video is there to speak clearly. And so at a point, I got hot, so I started fanning myself, and I took a sip. And all that you saw in the video transpired. At the tail end, when the majority leader was trying to engage both, I got 3 calls and a message from my dear husband instructing me to leave the premises immediately. And that's order I took, and I adhered, and I left. I exited through this door and went to stand in front of the clerk's office, waiting for him to inform him of my leave to go home, because my husband, my dear husband, has requested me to come. And so,
okay. We are getting indication from the Clerk of Parliament, and I want to put on record. The Clerk of Parliament has instructed that we should suspend the sitting until further notice, and therefore I want everybody to be aware that it is not the committee that has decided to stop, but the Clerk to Parliament of Ghana has requested that until he get further instruction from the Speaker, the committee should suspend its sitting. On that note, we want to discharge you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I want to inform all the media house here that we'll get back to you. We're waiting for instruction from the Speaker.
So that is the chairman of the committee there, chairing this one, Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra. But Kweku, you are still with me here. Have you been able to speak to the minority leader to understand why he took that decision, which is being attributed to him?
Well, in another interview that I've sent you, which you haven't played, you hear that is an interview we did with Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, where he explains in detail what might have led to their decision to suspend proceedings. He explains first that Honorable Kwame Anyimadu, who is part of the committee, together with Abinal Siasari from the NPP side, and it was only Mr. Anyimadu who was at the committee today, and Mr. Anyimadu entry had to recuse himself because he had been instructed again by Afenyo-Markin to do so. And then also they were scheduled to hear from an NPP MP. All the testimony from MPs we've heard today were from NDC MPs. We were scheduled to hear from some NPP MPs also. They've also reached out to the committee saying that the minorities that Afenyo-Markin have asked them not to testify before the committee, and so they are unable to come. All these matters culminated in their inability to proceed with the hearing of the committee, and that in fact he, the chairman, had tried to reach the Speaker of Parliament by having gotten him. In fact, subsequently we've got to learn that the Speaker is currently out of the country, and so he also reached to leadership to get an understanding. And given that he was not getting any indication, the clerk who also came in and this information was relayed to him all agree that this suspension is put on hold, mainly due to the decision by the NPP side not to partake in the process, and they will wait further instruction from the Speaker of Parliament. I have not been able to speak to Afenyo-Markin yet. In fact, he was on the floor of Parliament briefly. He did leave. We've been making attempts to speak to him and get some understanding of that, but we have not been able to get it.
All right, grateful to you, Kweku Asante there. Let's go on to the phone line straight away and bring in Inusa Fuseni. He is former Tamale Central MP. Grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. Is it a normal practice for a leader to decide to pull a side out of a committee hearing as this one?
It's normal parliamentary practice. If you don't want to be part of a process, you can pull off away from the process. And so the fact that the minority has decided not to be part of the process is a normal, legitimate tool in a democratic setting.
And once that is the reason the committee hearing has been suspended, what do you suspect the Speaker will do after this period?
So what the minority leader has done is to deal a fatal blow to the committee, in the sense that if the committee goes ahead to take evidence and everything, to be seen as being a one-sided committee, and its legitimacy will be in question. Its impartiality will also come into question. And so that's a smart way of dealing a fatal blow to a committee set up for the purpose of investigating the disturbances that occurred on the 30th of January. Now, I have thought, and I have always been saying, that it's 1 month after Parliament came into being, and there is no reason why, up to now, all the committees of Parliament have not been put in place. The standing committees of Parliament and the select committees of Parliament, to enable Parliament to function effectively. This ad hoc business is what is stalling the process. In fact, if there were a committee of privileges and immunities established, that committee would have been seized with the matter. And I don't think that anybody would have thwarted the effort of the committee to investigate this matter.
So in the meantime, though, how do we get to the bottom of what happened on Thursday, now that the committee hearing has been suspended?
Constitute the committee. Get the majority leader, the minority leader, the chief whip of both sides, constitute the committees and adapt the report of the committee on section on the committees that have been formed. And then the matter can be referred to the privileges committee.
So this matter is not a dead matter, even though the committee hearing has been suspended?
It is not a dead matter. I mean, definitely not a dead matter. The conduct of the rogue MPs will definitely be investigated. But in my view, the proper committee, privileges committee, because everybody agrees that there was an abuse of privilege, there was an abuse of office, there was contempt of parliament. Everybody agrees, and that their actions and things that they perpetrated at the committee level were clearly unparliamentary, and parliament cannot leave that to die a natural death.
A member of the House before, what could be the possible, effect of what they did? I mean, after the committee, for example, the Privilege Committee is constituted, what could be the possible punishment meted out to these MPs if they are found culpable of what happened?
On your network, I told you that there are more grievous sanctions than suspending a person for 8 days, 2 weeks. There are more grievous sanctions under the Privileges and Immunities Committee of Parliament can impose on a member of Parliament. The highest being expulsion from Parliament, which requires a 2/3 majority of votes of members of Parliament.
It could be possible that if they are found culpable, they could be expelled from Parliament.
If they could be expelled from Parliament, if the committee comes to the view that what they did was totally unacceptable, totally unparliamentary, and abuse of privilege, that has to be dealt with stiff sanctions.
Do you expect that to happen from what you saw?
Well, I'm unable to predict how Parliament will behave. I've been in Parliament to know long enough to know that you can't predict how Parliament behaves.
We haven't really seen that. Normally people say Parliament protects its own, and that's what I wanted to find out. If you do suspect or expect that to happen, expulsion from Parliament based on what you saw.
Well, I in the first few days, and to be honest with you, in the first few days, I thought that if the Privileges of the committee were sitting, that would have been a possible outcome. If the Privileges Committee were sitting, that would have been a possible outcome. But time assuages the anger of people. And so even Ghanaians are now less angry than the day that the incident happened.
Okay.
And so people might look at it differently these days.
But there seemed to be some chaotic environment in the early days of this 9th Parliament. How should the House navigate this period that they are in now?
I agree with you, exactly. I mean, that's a very poignant observation. That it seems that Parliament is not getting its act together in these days. We have thought that having retained the Speaker and then the new clerk who was actually the clerk at table, things will move on smoothly. But I think that the supermajority has its challenges, or micro minority has also its challenges.
So how should the House navigate the period?
The House will go by the rules and procedures of the House as captured in the standing orders. Move swiftly to establish the committee. Move swiftly to bring order into the House. Deal with those recalcitrant members of Parliament. Send a signal that is not going to be tolerated in this 9th Parliament, and everybody will do in line.
Grateful to you. Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed, who's Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Haruna, grateful that you joined us here. Will you consider calling your members to at least be part of this committee hearing if it should be reconstituted to bring an end to this particular matter?
Thank you very much, Kojo. I believe that everybody in Ghana understands the point and the stand of the New Patriotic Party. We are a liberal conservative party, and we believe in the rule of law. We have always maintained our stand that we stand where the law works, and we have criticized a number of things since the inauguration of this particular 9th Parliament. And there was a point that has been made about, you made that particular point that it seems that there has been early chaotic, this has been the very early chaotic season that has happened in the era of parliamentary business. The earliest chaotic season was the 2021 incident that happened in the House of Parliament on the 7th of January. We have maintained through the parliamentary leadership on our side that we are going to do everything possible that will stand on the rule of law. And that is why the members of the minority in Parliament protested when there was no consensus building with regards to the addition of the additional 2 persons after having admitted to making it 5 in the vetting. We saw a violent confrontation from the majority, and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana gives the mandate to every citizen to defend. And that is why you saw lawyer Suleiman Hassan Tampuli to have defended himself. I believe that this matter must also pass through the right channels in the parliamentary proceedings. And if you check that committee that is sitting now, we consider that particular committee as an illegality because we have maintained that the Speaker's decision to suspend the 4 members of Parliament was not on any statute, not on Constitution, and not on.
But Haruna, the committee is not investigating the suspension. It is investigating the chaos of Thursday, and therefore I don't know what basis you are saying that constitutes the committee was illegal.
So I am building my case to let you understand and appreciate the fact that we ought not to be present at this particular this committee sitting. And as you have heard my senior brother, who has mentioned that the minority stand on non-appearance on this particular committee does not breach any constitutional provision. In Parliament, consensus building has been the hallmark. And before even the formation of this particular committee, which ought have been the first thing to refer these persons to the Privileges Committee, which has not been formed, it is not within the right duty of the Speaker to go ahead and proceed to come out with this particular suspension. Additionally, leadership from both sides should have also been consulted. Either they go in conclave to decide or to discuss about the way forward of this particular committee. It was a unilateral decision of the Speaker to form this particular committee without recourse to leadership. So if members in that particular committee has refused to come, why is it incumbent on the minority leader? Did you inform the minority leader, or did you have any discussion with the minority leader before the formation of putting each members on this particular committee? Boycott and then absenteeism on committees has always been allowed in our constitutional jurisprudence.
So Haruna, if I get you, you're saying that until the Privileges Committee is constituted, you won't get your members to be part of this committee or any other committee?
We as a party and our minority in Parliament believe in the right process, due process, and also through consensus building. I believe that what has happened today and the subsequent suspension of the sitting of this particular committee will lead the Speaker to call both sides of the House for a discussion and a consensus building. Parliamentary business has always been on consensus, and that is why we have always strived as a nation and get to where we are today. This is not the end of the story, but I believe that parliamentary business can still go on whilst the Speaker and the leadership will confer and get a better solution out of that. But we strongly believe that constitutional process, all the standing orders of Parliament must be made to work, and that is what the minority will rely on. And
I'm grateful to you, Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Earlier, you heard Yunus Afuseni, he is former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel and Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Newsnight is up next after this break.